Shalom and greetings from Jerusalem, Jane. I want to give you a current news update. It's been a very painful time here in Israel. So much has happened, and I'm gonna just go fast in order to get around to speak about all the things that has happened. I want to start by sharing something that actually made me cry. That was the very last thing I saw on my phone before I turned off the light yesterday. Someone shared this story on Twitter. There was a car accident or a fender bender. Two cars hit each other, and the man in the one car immediately took responsibility. He says, "This is my fault." There was a lady in the other car, and he said, "Let's just meet on Wednesday in the auto shop. Let's just go and I'll pay for it, for the damages to your car." A few days later on Wednesday, the lady showed up, but the man, the other part who was in this accident, he didn't show up. And she couldn't get a hold of him, so she sent a text to him and she says, "I think it's rude. We were in this fender bender. I was in the shop and you didn't show up." Shortly after that, she received a message from this gentleman. His name was Mr. Gringlich. I don't know if I pronounced that correct. But he says, "I'm so sorry that I didn't show up on Wednesday, but my son was just killed in Gaza and we had to go to the funeral of my son." And of course, this lady is horrified, and she realized, I was at that funeral, not knowing that it was the son of the man that she was supposed to meet. She was at that funeral. So she goes to the Shiva, to the week-long mourning period that the Jewish family has, and to pay her respect, to pay her condolences, and to say, "I'm so sorry. Forget about this whole thing with the car." And he said, "Don't worry, I will pay when I'm done with this sitting Shiva, I will pay." And she says, No, please don't." But he did. He transferred the amount into her account just for her to respond to him and said, "It's not needed." The guy who had the store where the car was fixed, when he heard that there was a fender bender and the man who was responsible and was going to pay the bill had just lost his son in Gaza, he said, "Don't pay, I don't want his money." This is the man at his son's funeral. He was the one who should have paid for the accidents, but instead of meeting that lady, he found himself in the cemetery burying his son who was killed inside the Gaza Strip. So I was just, when I read that last night, I was just, it really moved my heart. So I'm sending my condolences to this family who had to bury their loved one. As a matter of fact, I want to show you, since I last made an update, here are soldiers that was killed defending the Jewish homeland. May their memories forever be a blessing. May they rest in peace. May God comfort their families. All soldiers who died in battle defending Israel, and then one of them, he was killed actually in a car accident also. So I'm sending my deepest condolences to the families. What happened in Israel was that, I want to show you, this lady was in her home in the northern part of Israel, and the terror organization Hezbollah, they fired a rocket and an anti-tank missile, and it hit her home. She was in her home with her husband and her son, and she was killed, and so was her son. Two Israelis murdered in their home by Hezbollah, firing anti-tank missiles into their home. It's just devastating. His name was Barak Ayalon and her name was Mira. She was 76 years old and he was 45. And the father, the husband, was injured and was taken to the hospital. So that's 2 Israelis murdered in their home by Hezbollah firing anti-tank missiles into their home. The Israeli police and the Shin Bet foiled a terror attack that was planned by 2 ISIS terrorists here in Jerusalem. They were planning to carry out a major terror attack here in Jerusalem, and they were arrested. The Israeli military, in an airstrike, took out terrorists out in Samaria in a car. They were on their way to carry out an imminent terror attack. The car was full of weapons, and of course they had previously been involved in terror activities, so they were taken out in an airstrike. I shared that video on all my social media. 3 terrorists breached a Jewish community also in Samaria last Friday night. They crawled under the fence with weapons, and they were on their way to carry out a mass terror attack to kill as many Jewish people as possible. But good thing that security establishments in that Jewish community, they saw them and they caught them, and they were killed before they managed to carry out this heinous terror attack. And that's why I was a little bit quiet, because it's just horrendous. But we did, in fact, have a big terror attack. 2 Palestinian cousins, 2 men came into Israel illegally, and they carried out a horrendous terror attack in Ra'anana. It's a suburb to Jerusalem, and they dragged this lady out of her car. They dragged her out of her car, they stabbed her, they killed her. This precious mother of 2 children, and I believe it was 6 grandchildren, were brutally murdered in a terror attack. She was 79 years old, almost 80 years old. Her name was Edna Bluestein, and she was brutally murdered in this terror attack when one of these terrorists pulled her out of her car and stabbed her to death, brutally stabbed her to death. He stole her car, he fled, and he ran people over. Another terrorist got into a car and also ran people over. And in total, I believe it was 18 people who was injured in a car ramming and a stabbing attack. I shared about this, especially on my Telegram channel. I shared video, I shared photos. So these 2 vile, evil, demonic terrorists who said they came to Israel to murder Jews. They were thinking about just carrying out a stabbing attack, but they agreed also to carry out ramming attack, because that way they could ram more people over. Guess who the victims were? Many of these victims were children who just came out of school, waiting for the bus at a bus stop, and these evil terrorists plowed them down, and there are people everywhere in the streets, and more people were also stabbed, and numerous people was taken. Of course, they were taken to the hospital, all of them who got injured, and many of them had to go through surgery. Some of them were severely injured, some of them were moderately injured, and some of them were light injured. But at least 6 children were injured. Doing what? Standing, waiting for the bus. And these evil terrorists just ran them over. So they were arrested. They admitted they came to Israel to murder Jews. They are now going to be sentenced. They are going to go to an Israeli prison. And then the Palestinian authorities are going to pay them thousands of dollars every month for murdering 79-year-old Edna and injuring 18 Israelis. And that is money that is also paid by your government. When they are paying aid to the Palestinian Authority, they are using $400,000. $400,000. That's not true. $400 million for aid to terrorists who is murdering innocent civilians. It is absolutely outrageous. So that was one thing that happened here in Israel. Then rockets started flying in from Israel again to Jewish communities. Rockets were flying into Israel in 2 rounds, massive barrage of rockets, 20, 50 rockets. Hamas managed to fire these rockets into Israel, and one of them had a direct hit in a house. It's absolutely horrendous. But what I want to show you is this. This is 2 Israeli hostages that was kidnapped into Gaza. Hamas used them in a video, one of their despicable evil propaganda video, and after that they were murdered in captivity inside Gaza. Murdered by Hamas while they were held captive inside Gaza. I want to show you this beautiful young soldier. On October 7, he was murdered by terrorists. They mutilated his body. They cut off his head. They dragged his body into Gaza and they cut off his head. So the family received his corpse without a head. The terrorist who cut off his head tried to sell this young man's head inside Gaza for $10 million. It does not get any more evil. It does not get any more evil. And then, yes, it does, because CNN obtained video of a terrorist on October 7 walking in the streets, and the people he had murdered, he cut off their heads. This is photos from a video CNN published where you see a Hamas terrorist decapitating people with a knife on October 7. I have said this before. There was a portal from hell that opened, and these evil demonic monsters, 3,000 of them, breached into Israel, and they committed all of these atrocities, including cutting off the heads of people. And this young soldier, his name was David. That was the father. His name was Adir. Adir's head was cut off, and for $10,000, this evil terrorist tried to sell that head inside Gaza. It is absolutely horrendous. I want to end by sharing this. The youngest hostage inside Gaza, baby Kfir, was kidnapped into Gaza together with his 4-year-old brother, his mother and father. Today, he is turning 1 year old, and he is still hostage inside Gaza. Baby Kfir Bibas, he took the whole world by storm into his heart. Little baby Kfir, him and his brother with the red hair, they have been in captivity more than 100 days inside the Gaza Strip. And today he is turning 1 year old. His kindergarten actually held a birthday party for him yesterday with orange flags to symbolize his orange head, saying this is the saddest birthday in world history, when a 1-year-old baby has spent 3 months in captivity inside the Gaza Strip. It is unfathomable. Yesterday, after more than 100 days in captivity, medicine was brought into Gaza. Medicine to all of these hostages, where we know that many of them, they are not alive today. They are not alive today. So medicine was brought into Gaza. What was the price? For 1 box of medicine for the hostages, 1,000 boxes of medicine was brought in to the people in Gaza Strip. Many of them, most of them, supporting the onslaught towards the Jewish people. Yes, you heard me right. Did you know that the whole underground tunnel system in the metro in London. It's not even as big as the tunnel system inside the Gaza Strip. The whole Gaza Strip is one terror nest. And they have tunnel shaft in every hospital, every mosque, schools, UNRWA schools, playgrounds, cemetery. The whole Gaza Strip is one huge terror nest. In private homes, many of the homes inside Gaza, you go lift the carpet, you go lift the bed, and then there's a tunnel shaft. Because Hamas is everywhere, 50,000 members of Hamas, these terrorists have families, and in their children's playground, in their children's bedroom, you are finding RPGs, you are finding weapons, you are finding tunnel shafts. Why? Because the civilians inside Gaza, they support Hamas. Many of them support Hamas. But now, when Israel is retaliating, all of a sudden they are the innocent civilians. So from my heart, deepest condolences to all the families who was notified since I last made a video. We regret to inform you that your beloved was killed fighting inside Gaza. Your beloved was killed fighting in the north, or the one soldier who was killed in a car accident. Happy birthday, Kfir, sitting in Gaza. Are you even alive? Are you eating? Where are you sleeping? Are you with your mom? Are you with your dad? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So please share out this video for the whole world to know the truth that Israel is still fighting deep inside Gaza. Israel is being attacked in the north from Hezbollah. Israel is taking out terrorists who wanted to carry out huge terror attack in Samaria. ISIS terrorists here in East Jerusalem. Medicine is coming into the hostages, but how many is alive? We don't know. For such a time as this, God bless Israel. God bless all of you around the world standing with Israel at this time. Bye.